Triple H is back in the saddle and he's bringing a friend or two, or three, or hopefully five.
I know you ain't just here lurking. Subscribe to Pro Wrestling Bits.
WWE SummerSlam kicked off the Triple H era not only by revitalizing Michael Cole's career, but by saving a WWE career or two in the process. By the way, that was not Michael Cole at SummerSlam, that was Michael Coulthard, like the real guy behind Michael Cole. He finally got to be himself and it was awesome. SummerSlam was a great pay-per-view, but most of the show still felt like a Vince show. There were celebrity appearances, big-time entrances, the WWE in-ring style, camera cuts, and dusty finishes. In fact, the most Triple H moment of SummerSlam came in the first half hour when Bayley returned flanked by Shirai and a returning Dakota Kai. As a proud pro wrestling conspiracy theorist, I will never believe that Vince McMahon is fully gone from WWE. Triple H has more power than ever, but we're still in the Wizard of Oz era. I will always believe that there is a red phone at gorilla position that rings whenever Tommaso Ciampa is on television for too long, or when Dakota Kai pulls up despite being released from her contract in April. Paul, it looks like there's a security breach. Take care of it. The returns of Bayley, Dakota, and Io Sky were a welcome back moment, but not for any of those women. This was a welcome back message from Triple H, who's back in power after being in the WWE doghouse because he didn't put AEW out of business in 2019. This was Triple H saying, "This is my castle now." The excitement surrounding potential changes in WWE returns is invaluable and needs to be protected at all costs, even if WWE doesn't plan on bringing back the majority of talent that was mass released. As long as there is hope and people believe that there will be more returns in the future, that'll keep them invested and tuned in out of curiosity alone. WWE can placate these desires by bringing back a big surprise return here and there, even if it's just for a short-term basis. As long as they do just enough to keep hope alive, the Triple H era will continue to be supported by the type of excitement, enthusiasm, and optimism for WWE that has evaded the company for years now. Plus, WWE is gonna need some reinforcements if they want to really take the fight to AEW on September 4th. With much of the main roster overseas that weekend to Clash at the Castle, a surprise return or two, or five, might be mandatory for NXT to seize clout from AEW All Out. Maybe that's what the NXT pay-per-view should be called that night. NXT All Clout. So who should come back, you ask? Geez, you just want to get into it like that? You don't want to take me to dinner first? Fine, whatever. I guess chivalry really is dead. Let's start with Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Triple H don't have the greatest relationship, and it's very likely that with Triple H in power, we've seen the last of Enzo in WWE. But the story of NXT 1.0, can Cass turn heads on a recent broadcast of AEW Dynamite in a match against Wardlow, and this version of Big Cass deserves a second chance in WWE, even if it isn't with Enzo, which I hope isn't the case. Karrion Kross just barely made this list because I think he was done dirty on the main roster. And while it would be great to see Kross and Scarlett's act get a fair shake on the main roster, preferably without suspenders or a helmet, the fact that Karrion Kross was done so dirty is kind of why I don't want him back in WWE. I feel like he needs a fresh coat of paint and needs to take the Drew McIntyre route of making himself a bigger star outside of WWE. It's just too soon since he was mobbing around looking like a Comic-Con demolition, and a lot of people might not be able to unsee that. All it takes is one night to completely revive a career in pro wrestling, but if I'm Kross, I don't trust WWE with my career again, given how badly they screwed it up from jump, Triple H or not. Bray Wyatt would be a welcome sight because I feel like his creative vision clashed with Vince McMahon and was undermined several times during his biggest moments, particularly as The Fiend. The Firefly Funhouse should have been a transcendent gimmick in pro wrestling, and in some ways it pretty much was. But the story of what should have been a legendary character was 2 steps forward, 10 steps back. Bray Wyatt's merchandise flew off the shelves, but he also had that ugly ref stoppage with Seth Rollins. Bray Wyatt had that awesome Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena, haters, but he also had that ugly swamp match with Braun Strowman. Bray Wyatt did win the WWE Universal title, but he also got distracted by Alexa Bliss's bile. Pro wrestling is just a better place with Bray Wyatt's mind at work, and I'd love to see what that looks like with less micromanagement. Knuck if you buck, but I'd love to see the return of Velveteen Dream. We'll never know the full details behind the controversy that got him ousted from WWE, but all I know is WWE conducted an internal investigation, and in Triple H's own words, they didn't find anything. The same cannot be said about Vince McMahon. When they did that investigation, they found all of the things. That investigation resulted in so many alleged hush money payments they could be Pat McAfee's annual earnings. But despite all the mounting evidence against Vince McMahon, a couple of Wall Street Journal articles, and a forthcoming Real Sports piece, he was cheered wildly by fans during live appearances, even until the bitter end. When Stephanie McMahon announced Vince had retired, people booed that announcement despite the damning evidence against Vince. But you're telling me Velveteen Dream is unhireable despite being cleared in his own investigation? Say it with me. The complexion for the protection. They're full of shit. F what you heard. I want Velveteen Dream back whether he has to fight fake hypocritical outrage or not. Velveteen was known to cosplay as other wrestlers and pop culture figures. Maybe if he comes back dressed as Vince McMahon, fans will turn a blind eye to his allegations too. Might need to bleach his skin though, but let's get to the two women who tied for the top spot. Sasha Banks and Naomi. WWE has already come crawling back with reported efforts to reconcile with Sasha and Naomi. With babyface Becky Lynch battling a shoulder injury, if Bianca Belair needs backup against Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky, I can't think of a better melanated mob than Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, and Naomi. Think of the tie-ins between Sasha and Bayley and the potential spin-off matches. Bayley versus Sasha, Dakota Kai versus Naomi, Io Sky versus Bianca, and that's just a short list. If WWE wants to make the type of big splash that keeps fans invested in a new vision, the returns of Sasha and Naomi will be a game-changing moment that does that and then some. Just close your eyes, let that red phone ring, and bring back Sasha and Naomi at all costs. Whom do you want to see make a surprise return in the Triple H era? Tell me in the comments.